Hello everyone, it's Judy from Coffee Cookies and Books, and what we have for you today is 4 release dates, 42 books, all coming out in the month of October. Honestly, can't wait to share them with you, and I really hope you'll stick around. As I said in the opening, I have 42 books to share over 4 different release dates. So we're going to just jump right in and get started because we've got a lot to cover. So our first release date is October 7th. So we're going to start October 7th with The Intruder by Freida McFadden. And this particular book says, who knows what the storm will blow in? Casey's cabin in the wilderness is not built for a hurricane. Her roof shakes, the lights flicker. The tree outside her front door sways ominously in the wind. But she's a lot more worried about the girl she discovers lurking outside her kitchen window. She's young, she's alone, and she's covered in blood. So I'm going to leave it at there. It says, in this taut, deadly tale of survival and desperation from Freida McFadden explores how far one girl will go to save herself. So that's all this says. Now, I've never read any of Freida McFadden's books. I have one of her books, which is The Boyfriend, I think I got off of Book of the Month. So I don't have any of her other ones. And I don't know, she like knocks them out like crazy. So I don't know. It seems like she probably has a particular formula that she goes on for her books. And I'm not sure how I feel about that. But anyway, for anybody who is a Freida McFadden fan, she's got another one coming. So then the next one on October 7th is Mate by Ali Hazelwood. So this is not a sequel to Bride. This is an interconnected standalone. So it's in the same world as Bride, but with different subjects. So different main characters. Just like any interconnected romance, I'm assuming is what this is. It says, a human hybrid and an alpha wearer claw against the bonds of fate in the highly anticipated companion novel to the best-selling Bride. Serena Paris is orphaned, packless, and one of a kind. Coming forward as the first human-were hybrid was supposed to heal a centuries-long rift between species. Instead, it made her a target, prey to the ruthless politicians' machinations between wares, vampires, and humans. With her enemies closing in on her, she has only one option left, if he'll have her. As the alpha of the Northwest Pack, Koen, I don't know how, it's spelled Koen, I'm not sure how you pronounce it. Koen Alexander commands obedience. His authority is so absolute, only a fool would threaten his mate. Only a foot would. That's pretty funny. Only a fool would threaten his mate. It doesn't matter if Serena doesn't reciprocate his feeling. I can't speak today, so I'm going to use my cold. I have a cold, so I'm going to use that as an excuse. It's like can't read and I can't talk. There we go. Okay. It doesn't matter if Serena doesn't reciprocate his feelings. Nothing will stop him from keeping her safe. But power-hungry vampires and wearers are not the only threats chasing Serena. Sooner or later, her past is bound to catch up with her. And Koen, I hate that name, might be the only thing standing between her and total annihilation. I don't know where that comes from, Koen. It sounds like it might be Welsh name, maybe? Anyway, that is that one. That just took way too long. Oh my gosh, what a freaking mess. Okay, next one is Alchemy of Secrets by Stephanie Garber. Now, I have actually ordered the special edition of this off of Book of the Month. I just placed that order, so I will be getting the deluxe edition of that. It is the hotly anticipated adult debut novel by Stephanie Garber. Now, only book I have read of hers is Once Upon a Time, and I didn't care for that. I've been putting off reading the rest of the series because I did pick up the whole series from Book Outlet. But I didn't mind the writing. I just didn't like the story for that one, Once Upon a Broken Heart. That's the one that I'm thinking of. And so with this being adult, not YA, I thought I would give it a try because I did like her writing. So we'll give it a shot and see how it goes. And it says, it starts with a class in an old movie theater. Folklore 517, local legends and urban myths taught by a woman called the Professor. Most students believe the Professor's stories are just fiction, but Holland St. James has always been convinced that magic is real. When she tracks down a local legend named the Watchman, she can supposedly tell you when you... She can... Is it she? The Watchman. When she tracks down a local legend named the Watchman, who can supposedly tell you when you'll die. See, I told you, I really can't read or talk today. The world finally makes sense, except that the Watchman tells her she will die at midnight tomorrow unless she finds an ancient object called alchemical heart. Alchemical heart. These, oh, it's like I can't even speak English today. So obviously the clock is ticking. She has to find the heart. This sounds like it's maybe a bit more urban as well. It's talking about in the heart of Los Angeles. So it sounds like it's got a bit more of an urban feel, which would appeal to me a lot more, if I'm being honest, than the fantasy sort of old world fairy tale type backgrounds. This sort of appeals to me a tiny bit more. So that was why I did order it, and we'll see how it goes on that one. Okay. Oh my God, my English is just not, I probably shouldn't have filmed this today, but I had to get it filmed. So, and can't wait for a cold to go away because you never know how long it's going to last. All right, next one is Overdue by Stephanie Perkins. Now, I'm not sure what the category is. It looks like it's a romance. It says workplace processes and infrastructure, new adult and college romance, contemporary women's fiction. So I guess it falls under a few different categories. A sparkling adult debut from beloved New York Times bestselling author Stephanie Perkins. Is it time to renew love or start a new chapter? So it sounds like maybe second chance romance, perhaps. It is overdue, beautiful, slow burn romance full of lust and longing about new beginnings and finding your way. So that is what it says on here. Like, and while it says new adult college romance, it looks like the main character says she's a cheerful 29-year-old librarian. So to me, that's not college per se. New adult, that's also kind of new adult. I think of new adult as more between 21 to 25. So 29-year-old main character is a little bit on the older side. But anyway, that is that one. I'm going to try not to get too descriptive with these. I'm trying. Okay, next one is The Hearth Witch's Guide to Magic and Murder by Kiri, Callaghan. And I love the cover. I think the cover is really sharp looking. It says, for all intents and purposes, we are still blissfully separated from the mortals, but there have been complications. When a rise in London's supernatural crime puts Fae society at risk of discovery, the Winter Council turns to an unlikely solution. Avery Hemlock, the changeling that The changeling they sentenced to 500 years of nightmares, inherently lacking social grace and missing approximately 2 centuries of world knowledge. Avery must find a way to acclimate and solve the case or lose her probationary freedom. After being left at the altar and dropping out of medical school, Saga Trigg attempts to rekindle her faith in life, humanity, and witchcraft. But when her new neighbor Avery accidentally reveals the Fae that have been living among humanity all along, Saga realizes magic is far more than prayers, intention, and candles. Each faced with navigating an unfamiliar world, the two form an unexpected partnership. It sounds interesting. It doesn't say if Avery's female or male. Hard to say whether it's sapphic or not, but yeah, I think that one sounds interesting. All right, next one for October 7th is a romance. It's called Cover Story by Mhari McFarlane. And it doesn't say that it's part of a series or going to be part of a series. Look like it's just a standalone romance. It says Mr. and Mrs. Smith meets the hating game in this heartfelt, witty, and utterly unputdownable enemies to lovers romance from bestseller Mhari McFarlane about 2 journalists who must fake a relationship in order to land a huge story. So, workplace rivalries, unlikely partnership, cutthroat journalism. Those are all the buzzwords for that one. All right, so that's that one. Next one is The Damned by Harper L. Woods, and this is book 3 of The Coven of Bones. Now, the first 2 books, I believe, are the one story. This is same world, different characters from everything that I've heard about it. Could be wrong, but that's what I've heard. It says, trapped, he fell through the gate to hell to save my life. Beelzebub, the Lord of Gluttony, is no longer his own. He's been mine ever since he caught me singing to myself, falling prey to the magic of my song. If I can keep my distance, we can both move on. But now he's caught up under my spell, which makes him forbidden to touch, and yet he's the only one I can trust to get me back to Crystal Hollow. We'll have to make it through the 9 circles of hell first, no matter what we lose along the way. So, clearly romantasy. I do have the first 2 books. I got them off of Book Outlet, really super cheap on one of their $7.99 sales. So, but I haven't read those yet. So I would not be purchasing this until I read those because I've heard things about the first 2 books. So, okay. Then next is The Hitchhikers by Chevy Stevens. I believe, yes, this says Canadian detective, serial killer thrillers, kidnapping thrillers. So definitely a thriller. And it says, the open road beckons a chance for them to reconnect. Then they make a fatal mistake. In the summer of 1976, and it's the summer of 1976, and Alice and Tom set out to the remote Canadian highways in their new RV, hoping to heal their broken hearts after a devastating tragedy. They've planned the trip perfectly, taking care of every detail. Then they meet 2 young hitchhikers down on their luck and offer them a ride. But Simon and Jenny aren't what they seem. They left a trail of blood, destruction, and madness behind them. So that sounds creepy. But sounds like something that would be interesting. Yeah, I'd be curious to see the reviews on this. There are a few YouTubers that I watch that specifically get into reviewing thrillers. So I will watch them closely to see if this one comes up, because it certainly sounds like something that would be good. Okay, next one is The Women of Wild Hill by Kirsten Miller. And this one is rated as feminist criticism, horror, occult, and supernatural, magical fantasy, magical realism tale of witchcraft, family secrets, and unearthed powers on the verge on the very edge of Long Island. A witty, spectacular, and timely tale of modern-day witches waging war on the patriarchy. There are places on Earth where nature's powers gather. Girls raised there are bequeathed strange gifts. A few have powers so dark that they fear to use them. Such a place is Wild Hill on the tip of Long Island. For centuries, the ghost of a witch murdered by colonists claimed the beautiful and fertile Wild Hill, until a young Scottish woman with strange gifts arrived. Sadie Duncan was allowed to stay. 5 generations of Sadie's descendants called Wild Hill home, each generation more powerful than the last. Then, in the aftermath of a terrible tragedy, the last of the Duncans, once prophesied to be the most powerful of their kind, abandoned their ancestral home. One of them, Bridget Langmuir, moved to California and turned her dark gift into fame and fortune. Her sister Phoebe settled on the ranch in Texas, where women visit in secret for her tonics and cures. Phoebe's daughter, Sybil, has become a famous chef, seemingly powerless. Sybil has never been told of the Duncan bloodline. Now, Bridget, Phoebe, and Sybil have been brought to Wild Hill to discover the family legacy. The old one, furious at the path mankind has taken, has chosen 3 powerful witches to turn the tide. The Duncans will fulfill their destinies, but only if they can set aside their grievances and come together as a family. So, there's that one. That sounds like an interesting one. Okay. Next one is also about witches. I mean, there's no coincidence that these are all coming out in October. I think that's doesn't even need to be said. The Witching Moon Manor by Stacy Sivinski. This is the 2nd book in the Spellbound Sister series. Now, I do not know if this is a standalone. It looks like it's a separate cozy mystery, maybe? Hold on, let me just double check. I just don't want to read the synopsis if it gives anything away. It says gaslamp fantasy, fairy tales, romantic fantasy. So it's some sort of romance. This is a magical Quigley sisters return to bargain with fate once more in this follow-up to the charming, uplifting, and utterly enchanting The Crescent Moon Tea Room. So this must be a interconnected standalone. Yeah. So maybe it's dealing with one of the sisters. Anyways, I'm not going to read the synopsis because I don't want to do that, just in case, because I'm not familiar with the first book, so I don't know if it's a continuation or not. So we'll leave it at that. Okay, the next one is All of Us Murderers by K.J. Charles. And this is the lush gothic drama of Crimson Peak meets the murderous intrigue of Knives Out with an LGBTQIA+ love story to die for. Who will survive Lackaday House? So I think this is a thriller. It says gay fiction, historical mystery, gothic. Looks like it could be. It says, let me see, is it a long? No, it's not a long synopsis. Let's just read a little bit of the synopsis. When Zeb Wickham is summoned to a wealthy relative's remote Gothic manor, he is horrified to find all the people he least wants to see in the world, his estranged brother, his sneering cousin, and his bittered ex-lover, Gideon Gray. Things couldn't possibly get worse. Fear and paranoia ramping ever higher, Zeb is nowhere to turn but to the man who once held his heart. As the gaslight flickers and terror takes hold, can 2 warring lovers reunite, uncover the murderous mysteries of Lackaday House, and live to tell the tale? So there's that one. And the last one is a holiday romance from Lauren Blakely. And it says, it's my favorite Holidate. Wanted hot billionaire to pose as my Christmas boyfriend. Must be willing to make my cheating ex jealous by kissing me under the mistletoe at holiday parties. Bonus if you make him cry. Oh my God, I think that's so funny. I might have to read that one. That's on Kindle. So yeah, I'm looking for all kinds of different ones to read for Christmas, and I just gonna, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna put on my Kindle wish list. There we go. So I'll put that on there because I might move that in when I finish off something else because I like the sound of that one. That sounds really snappy. Okay, so that's it for October 7th. So next up we have October 14th. Okay, so now we have the 14th of October, and we're going to start with Gone Before Goodbye, which is written jointly between Harlen, Corben, and Reese Witherspoon. An unforgettable suspense novel that combines the storytelling talents of Academy Award-winning actor Reese Witherspoon and internationally best-selling author Harlen Corben. Is the story of a woman trapped in a deadly conspiracy where uncovering the truth could cost her everything. It says Maggie McCabe is teetering on the brink, a highly skilled and renowned Army combat surgeon. She has always lived life at the edge where she could make the most impact, and it was all going to plan until it wasn't. Upside down, after a devastating series of tragedies leads to her medical license being revoked, Maggie has lost her purpose, but not her nerve or her passion. At her lowest point, she is thrown a lifeline by a former colleague, an elite plastic surgeon whose anonymous clientele demand the best care money can buy, as well as absolute discretion. Halfway across the globe, sequestered in the lap of luxury and cutting-edge technology, one of the world's most mysterious men requires unconventional medical assistance. Desperate and one of the few surgeons in the world skilled enough to take this job, Maggie enters his realm of unspeakable opulence and fulfills her end of the agreement. But when the patient suddenly disappears, still under her care, Maggie must become a fugitive herself, or she will be the next one who is gone before goodbye. That sounds a little creepy, if I do say so myself. Yeah. A little bit. Just a little bit. Okay. So, there's that one. Next one is written again by a duo. It is called Remain by Nicholas Sparks and M. Night Shyamalan? I'm not sure how to pronounce that. You know, I know how to pronounce it. Like I can hear it in my head, but it's not coming out of here properly. And I think he does. Does he not write screenplays for like scary movies? Yeah. Like creepy stuff? M. Night Shyamalan? Yeah. Anyway, enough about that. Okay, a one-of-a-kind novel that grapples with supernatural mysteries of life, death, and human connection. An unprecedented collaboration between the globally best-selling author of love stories like The Notebook and the renowned writer and director of blockbuster thriller films like The Sixth Sense. So, you have that. So this is an interesting combination, I would think. It's really going to depend on how the story plays out, but I think that sounds like it could be really interesting. Anyway, I'm just going to leave it at that. I don't want to give away too much of it because sometimes it does give away too much of it. Okay, so next one is Revolve by Bal Khabra, which is book 3 of 3 of the Off the Ice series. And this is a romance. And it says, the road to redemption is far from smooth as ice in this sweeping romance between a figure skater and a hockey player. Seems to be a lot of that going around. Figure skaters and hockey players. Just saying, I just come off reading the favorites. Now, I mean, I know he's not a hockey player, but it's like the whole figure skating thing. Yeah. Sira Romanova was an Olympian figure skater before a life-altering accident on the ice left her with panic attacks every time she enters the rink. Now back for her final year at Dalton University, she's ready to reclaim the spotlight with all eyes on her, including those of hockey player Dylan Donovan, whose audacious words goad her back into her skates to prove him wrong. Now, all I can think of is it Unloved or Unsteady? Unsteady, I think, by, I can't remember the name of the author, but I read that, and this is flipped because he's the one, the hockey player, and he had an accident on the ice, and he comes back and he has panic attacks. So this just sounds, it's like the flipping things around. And she was a figure skater, but yeah. So, I don't know. Kind of a very similar sort of sounding. Anyway, that's the third book in the series. The next one is The Princess Knight by Cait Jacobs. And what is this one rated under? This is romantic adaptations, medieval historical romance, and feel-good fiction. A princess desperate to win back the prince who broke her heart follows him to his kingdom's prestigious military academy, and in doing so falls in love, saves the realm, and continues to look fabulous in this delightful debut fantasy. That's all I'm going to say about that one. Yeah, the cover is really great. I think the cover is beautiful. So, but it sounds like it might have a little bit of a comedic element to it. It is 512 pages, so it's a pretty good sized book. Okay, next one is Conform by Ariel Sullivan, and that is dystopian science fiction romance, humorous science fiction. Okay, in the far future, one woman finds herself torn between two loves, the two sides of a rebellion boiling under the surface in the first novel of a sweeping dystopian romance series. So it's going to be a series. I don't know if it's going to be a continuation or if it's going to be a series of different couples in the same. I have no idea. But it says a lifelong outcast 27-year-old Emmeline spends her days alone sorting ancient art for destruction. Centuries after a catastrophic war nearly decimated humanity, society is now ruled by an elusive and technologically advanced group called the Alum, who constantly monitor the population's health and mandate procreation contracts. But Emmeline's bleak existence is shattered when, for the first time in decades, an alum named Colin takes a mate, Emmeline. Baffled as to why she was chosen, Emmeline is swept into the dangerous game of the courting, where one wrong move can mean elimination. Soon she discovers a rebellion rising in secret and that her mate may be keeping secrets of his own. Colin is confusing, both cold and protective, and worse, she finds herself drawn to the very last person she should be calling for, Hal, one of the resistance leaders. As she draws closer to both Colin and Hal, the alum exercise their power in increasingly brutal ways, forcing Emmeline to question everything, most of all, whether she'll have to give up her heart and even her life to stop them. Interesting. It does not say, it says part of 1,000 Voices, and then it says 2 books. So it sounds like it's just going to be duology. Maybe. We shall see. Yeah, that sounds interesting. Okay. Next one is A Scar in the Bone by Sophie Jordan. And that one is, I think it's romantasy. supernaturalism, fantasy anthologies, military fantasy. And it is book 2, Fire in the Sky. So I think Fire in the Sky was the first book. And this is the second one. So I do not want to read the synopsis because I do believe that this is a continuation of a duology. So that's it for that one. Yeah, sorry. Don't want to read the synopsis on any books that I know 100% are a continuation. So the next one is Red City by Marie Lu. And it says book 1 of 1. The New Alchemists. No idea if this is going to be a continuation or anything of that nature. And this sounds like it is a fantasy. Yeah, it's contemporary, paranormal, and urban fantasy. And contemporary fantasy. Yeah, so urban fantasy of sorts. Doesn't say if there's any romance involved in there. It says the Godfather meets the magicians in the sweeping adult debut from Marie Lu, perfect for fans of V.E. Schwab. Red City is a dark and deadly contemporary fantasy of magical warfare, star-crossed ambition, and the pursuit of perfection at any cost, set in a glittering alternate Los Angeles. So it certainly sounds like it is urban and based on the City of Angels, but just obviously it's been changed up. It could have maybe a dystopian feel to it, but I don't want to read on because I don't want to ruin anything on the back. But it says alchemy is the hidden art of transformation, an exclusive power wielded by crime syndicates that market it to the world's elites in the form of sand, a drug that enhances those who take it into a more perfect version of themselves, more beautiful, more charismatic, simply more. Yeah, it sounds interesting. Okay, so that's that one. And then the last one for October 7th is The Keeper of Magical Things by Julie Leong. And this is the second book. The first book was The Teller of Small Fortunes. That's who same author as this. And this is a LGBTQIA, Asian mythology, lesbian mythology, humorous fantasy. So it is on the cozy side. It says, certainly Bulrush wants to be useful to the guild of mages that took her in as a novice, to the little brother who depends on her, to anyone else she can help. Unfortunately, her tepid magic hasn't proven much use to anyone. When Certainty has the chance to earn her magehood via a seemingly straightforward assignment, she takes it. Nevertheless, never mind that she'll have to work with Mage Aurelia, the brilliant, unfairly attractive overachiever who's managed to alienate everyone around her. The two must transport minorly magical artifacts somewhere safe, spelling the dullest, least magical village, spelling. I think that's the name of the village, is spelling. The dullest, least magical village around. This is where I guess they have to send them. You know what? I'm not going to read anymore because I'm butchering this whole thing, but it sounds like that's where they have to transport these magical artifacts and, well, whatever else happens from there. These two characters, but there you have it. Oh my God. It's like I can't speak. Like I said, I'm slowly losing my voice here. So that's it for October 14th. Now we're on to October 21st. So before we get into the books that are on the list for the 21st, when I was going through and I was pulling up all of the books for the 21st, I noticed that one of the ones that I pulled up has moved to the 14th. Now, I don't know if the date changed, the release date, but I thought I would give you that one first before we move on to all of the other ones that are for the 21st. And that is the Graceview Patient by Caitlin Starling. And it says Margaret lives with a rare autoimmune condition that has destroyed her life, leaving her isolated. It has no cure, but she's making do as best she can until she's offered a fully paid for spot in an experimental medical trial at Graceview Memorial. The conditions are simple, if grueling. She will live at the hospital as a full-time patient, subjecting herself to the near total destruction of her immune system and its subsequent regeneration. The trial will essentially kill most of, but not all of her. But as the treatment progresses and her body begins to fail, she stumbles upon something sinister living and spreading within the hospital. Unsure of what's real and what is just medically induced delusion, Margaret struggles to find a way out as her body and mind succumb further to the darkness lurking throughout Graceview's halls. Okay, that sounds really creepy. It says misery meets invasion of the body snatchers in a genre-bending, claustrophobic hospital gothic from best-selling author of The Death of Jane Lawrence. So, kind of creepy. Yeah. I think she also did the Starving Saints. Is that what it was? And which was on Aardvark offered that one. So I'm wondering if they'll offer this one in their October releases. May very well, because it's coming out on the 14th. So they might. Okay, so that's that one. Now, next one this is actually the 21st, and it is The Devil She Knows by Alexandria Belflor. A down-on-her-luck woman makes a deal with a crafty demon to win back her ex-girlfriend after a proposal gone awry, only to discover the girl of her dreams might be the devil she knows, from national best-selling author Alexandria Belflor. Samantha Cooper is having a day from hell. In less than 24 hours, her life is unraveled, leaving her single and with nowhere to live. Adding insult to injury, she's trapped in an elevator with a gorgeous woman claiming to be a demon. And I mean, you can, even the cover. The cover's great. Love the cover. Clearly, it's an elevator on the cover, but I just thought the cover was really sharp. All right, the next one is A Curious Kind of Magic by Mara Rutherford. And hold on, I need a drink because my throat, I'm losing my voice. Yes, just need to wet my whistle a little bit. Okay, so this is it says fantasy? Romantic comedy for young adults. So this is definitely YA. It says action, adventure, fantasy, romance. All for YA. So this is YA. It says Howl's Moving Castle meets Little Thieves in this cozy fantasy about the teenage owner of a mostly fake magical curiosity shop and a girl cursed to turn everything she touches into magic. Well, that sounds really cute. I'm not going to read any more than that. I just think that that's like very cute. It says on the cover, an unlikely friendship, an undeniable love, an unforgettable adventure. So a lot of fun with that one. And oh, the sun is blinding right now. It's going in and out, and it's every now and again it gets really blinding. It's at the time of year where it comes in at a certain angle in the window. And it's just a little bit much. Hopefully the camera will adjust for it. Hopefully. Okay. Next one is The Deadly Book Club by Lynn Liao Butler. And this is a thriller. And it says a virtual book club listens in horror when the screen freezes and one of their members is murdered in this twisty and delicious thriller from the author of someone else's life. Perfect for fans of First Lie Wins and The Writing Retreat. 5 of the most prominent book influence in the U.S. make up an exclusive virtual book club that's the envy of the online book world. Once a month, they get on a video call to sip cocktails, chat about social media campaigns and book events, and discuss their monthly book club pick. Until one meeting when all of their screens freeze and they listen to gut-wrenching screams as one of them is brutally attacked. It feels like an eternity before the video call drops, and thus begins the frantic texts and phone calls as they try to figure out who was murdered and why. Okay. I hope that didn't give away too much, because sometimes, especially on thrillers, I find the synopsis will sometimes give away a little bit too much, which is why I didn't go any further into it with it. Don't want to give away. Okay, next one is King Sorrow by Joe Hill. And what is this rated as? Horror, occult, and supernatural, ghost thriller, science fiction, crime, and mystery. This is from #1 best-selling author Joe Hill, a chilling tale of modern world dangers, dark academia, and the unexpected consequences of revenge as 6 friends dabble in the occult and are tragically, horrifyingly successful, calling forth an evil entity that demands regular human sacrifice. Okay, that's creepy. That's like extremely creepy. I'm not going to read anymore, because that would definitely give that away for sure. I'm like, yeah, that's like super, super creepy. It says that it is 896 pages. Wow, that's a long book. Usually I guess Stephen King writes books sometimes that are that long, and everything in it needs to be in it. So I don't know, but I'm just warning, that's a long book for anybody who's looking at picking that one up. But it certainly sounds good. We shall see. Okay, next one is The Things Gods Break. So this is the second book in the Crucible by Abigail Owen. God. So this is a sequel. So I am not going to read the synopsis because I don't want to give anything away for anything. The Games Gods Play was the first book, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I'm not really sure. Let me see if I click on here. Yes, The Games Gods Play. That was the first book in the series. So this is The Things Gods Break. And that's the second book in the series. So I'm not going to read anything because I don't want to give anything away. So that's it. I believe that's a fantasy romance. Probably a little heavier on the fantasy, a little less on the romance, but there's romance in there. Next one is Girl Dinner. Girl Dinner. 2 N's, not one, by Olivia Blake. And it is from the New York Times best-selling author of The Atlas Six. Girl Dinner is a darkly fun novel about power, lust, and eating your fill as wealthy moms and sorority girls practice a sinister new wellness trend. Good girls deserve a treat. It sounds like thriller, horror. It says satire, horror, occult, and supernatural, contemporary, paranormal, and urban fantasy. Huh. Look, I can honestly say that any of her previous books have not interested me, but this one sounds interesting. Okay. It says every member of the house, the most exclusive sorority on campus, and its alumni are beautiful, high achieving, and universally respected. After a freshman year, she would rather forget. Sophomore Nina Carr knows being one of the chosen few accepted into the house is the first step in her path to the brightest possible future. Once she's taken into her fold, the house will surely ease her fears of failure and protect her from those who see a young woman on her own as easy prey. Anyway, there's that one. Okay, next one is another Christmas one, and this one is called Good Spirits by B.K. Borison. And oh my gosh, I love the cover. I love the cover so much. Okay, it is a paranormal holiday romance with an Irish ghost, unexpected connections, and a Christmas Carol twist. I'm like, you know what? I want this one. It's like, this is like the cutest book. It is book 1 of 1, Ghosted, so it's not part of a series. It's its own thing, and it says he's the ghost of Christmas past. She's not exactly Scrooge. That's it. That's all I'm going to say about this one. It really, yeah, this one sounds terrific. It's the ghost of Christmas past. Nolan Callaghan intends to spend this holiday haunting like every other. Get in, get out, return to his otherwise aimless existence as ghost awaiting the afterlife. Harriet York has no idea why she's being haunted. She's a good person, or at least she tries to be. A people pleaser to her core, she always does what's expected of her. So clearly the two meet. It's filled with magic, mayhem, and cozy holiday charm. The Sweeney romance is B.K. Morrison's best yet. So I think that sounds really cute. Okay. Not the Christmas one. It's all good. Next one is The Widow by John Grisham. Everybody knows who John Grisham is, I'm sure. And it says that it is, now he's back with his favorite ever whodunit, even more suspenseful than his courtroom dramas, as a small-time lawyer accused of murder races to find the real killer to clear his name. So it sounds like thriller, legal thriller, mystery thriller, and suspense, action, and adventure. So that's that one. And then the last one we have is one that I have pre-ordered, which is the 6th and final book of the Sparrow Falls series by Catherine Cowles, called Secret Haven. And this is a contemporary romantic suspense series. And each one deals with a different person from the same family unit. It's like a foster family unit, and deals with all of them. In this particular one, the first time I met Kyler Blackwood, he was a bruised and battered boy with fire in his eyes and nowhere safe to land. Since the first time he kissed me, he was my best kept secret, my quiet rebellion, my haven in the storm. But fate forced us apart, making us pretend to be strangers because it hurt too much to be anything else. Years later, time hasn't dulled what we felt. Time hasn't dulled what we felt, has never erased the way we fit, and when Kai's past collides with my present, everything shifts. Not gonna say any more than that. I mean, I have so far only read Fragile Sanctuary, which is the first book in the series. I was looking for another really, really good romantic suspense writer after finishing the entire backlist on my favorite writer, and I found Catherine Cowles and loved the first book, and I'm hoping the rest of them are just as good, because I love romantic suspense. That's my jam. That's what I love the most when it comes to romance. I like other romance, like the Christmas one, that we just talked about, Good Spirits. I mean, I enjoy reading that too, but romantic suspense is where my first love for romance is. And so, anyway, yeah. So that is the last one for October 21st. So our next date is October 28th. Okay, so now we're going to tackle the last batch of books that we have. What do we have? We have about 10 or so. And these are all, again, for October 28th. The first one that's coming out on the 28th of October is Undead and Unwed by Sam Tashida. And this is one I have on pre-order. This is a cozy, I think it's a cozy, is it cozy romance or cozy? No, zombie, vampire, and werewolf, feel-good fiction, supernaturalism. And it is Bridget Jones' Diary meets What What We Do in the Shadows in this bitingly funny supernatural romance about a vampire finding herself and falling in love during the Christmas season. So that was why I pre-ordered this one, because it was another Christmas one. And it says, Tiffany may be 300 years old, but she's still a hot mess. The vampire is tragically single, works a dead-end job at a blood bank, and spends her nights marathoning Hallmark Channel movies with her cat. As you can see, her cat on the cover. When Tiffany inherits a fixer-upper home in Valentine, Vermont, thanks to a case of mistaken, stolen identity, she seizes the chance to get her life back on track. With her newly undead neighbor, it was an accident in tow. Tiffany is determined to live out her holiday rom-com dreams in this picture-perfect town. Anyway, it sounds like funny. I mean, it goes on, but I thought this sounded hilarious. I can't remember. Somebody recommended it. Somebody who does the cozies. No, actually, I don't even think it was the girls who do the cozy. I think it was somebody else that I watched that does a variety, reads a variety of things like I do. And they mentioned this one, and I thought, oh my gosh, that one sounds so cute. So I ordered it. Yeah. And the next one is The Wrath of the Fallen. It's the 4th book in the Gods and Monsters series by Amber V. Nicole. I've also pre-ordered this one. I actually just finished the Book of Azrael, first one. I did only give it a 3, but it was kind of like more like a 3.5, which is exactly what I gave the first Crescent City book, was kind of like that middle 3.5. And then the last 2 books were like top tier for me. So that was kind of how I gave the first book, and it was just because the first book felt really chaotic. Anyway, I'm going to review that. The review is coming up for that. But this is the 4th book in the series, and so I'm not going to read what it says on here because, of course, it's part of the series and I'll give it away, and being the 4th book. But I know a lot of people are waiting for this, including myself, because I have the other books, so I want to make sure I get this one. Okay, so that's that one. Next one is also the 2nd book in a series. It is The Bonds of Hercules by Jasmine Ma. And it's the Villains of Lore series. Now, I know this is also a continuation, so I am not going to read, but the first book was Blood of Hercules, and I do have that floating around here somewhere. I have that book, but have not read it. So I can't comment one way or the other on it, but they are offering a special edition on the hardcover on Kindle Unlimited. So, I mean on Amazon. All right, so that's that one. There's a lot of them that I can't say too much about. Is what it is. And then the next one is The Defender by Anna Wang, and this is book 2 in the Gods of the Game series, but of course these are interconnected romances, so I can read the synopsis on this one. It says, he has to play by the rules, but for her, he'd break them all. As captain of the Black Castle Football Club and one of the highest paid athletes in the game, Vincent Dubois should be on top of the world. But when his fame brings danger to his doorstep, he finds himself in a nightmare scenario, sharing a flat with his coach's daughter, knowing full well she's far too big a temptation for him to resist. When his new living arrangements escalate into a bet that throws them even closer together, he realizes he's in deeper trouble than he thought. He always played to win, but for her, he might just risk it all. So it's as a sports nutritionist and the daughter of the legendary coach, Brooklyn Armstrong is used to dealing with hotshot athletes. However, no player gets under her skin like Vincent, of course. So we're just going to leave it at that. That's another one. Now, lots of these sports romances, it seems to be a fairly common theme these days. And I gotta be honest, not a huge sports romance girly here. So I have not picked up very many of them. The only ones that I've read so far in just the first book is the Windy City series by Liz Tomforty. I have not read any of the other ones. Well, I shouldn't say that because I read Unstudy and Unloved, so I lied. No, I don't. Anyway, yeah. Okay. So next one is Hazelthorn by C.G. Drews. It is bisexual fiction for young adults, horror for young adults, fiction, and social and family issues for young adults. So definitely YA. It says Evander has lived like a ghost in the forgotten corners of the Hazelton estate ever since he was taken in by his reclusive billionaire guardian, Byron Lennox Hall, when he was a child. For his safety, Evander has been given 3 ironclad rules to follow. He can never leave the estate, he can never go into the gardens, and most importantly, he can never again be left alone with Byron's charming, underachieving grandson, Laurie. The last rule has been in place ever since Laurie tried to kill Evander 7 years ago, and yet somehow Evander is still obsessed with him. Interesting. So, that's not the entire synopsis, but you can get the gist of it from that one. All right, next one is one that I think quite a few people are waiting for, is The Everlasting by Alex E. Harrow. And this is Arthurian legend, fairy tale, epic fantasy. And it says, Sir Una Everlasting was Dominion's greatest hero, the orphan girl who became a knight who died for queen and country. Her legend lives on in songs and stories, in children's books and recruiting posters, but her life, as it truly happened, hasn't been forgotten. Centuries later, Owen Mallory, failed soldier, struggling scholar, falls in love with the tale of Una Everlasting. Her story takes him to war, to the archives, and then into the past itself. Una and Owen are tangled together in time, bound to retell the same story over and over again, no matter what it costs. But that story always ends the same way. If they want to rewrite Una's legend, if they want to tell a different story, they'll have to rewrite history itself. Interesting. So it sounds like he travels back in time and he wants to rewrite the history. They want to rewrite it together. I don't know. Hard to say. Sounds interesting, though. Okay. The next one is Our Vicious Oaths by N.E. Davenport. Is a dark romantasy of unbreakable bonds, fey politics, and a dangerous attraction amidst a battle for ultimate power. Let me see. Is it rated YA? Doesn't say that it is. It says Black and African American fantasy fiction, cultural heritage, historical fiction, and women's action and adventure. So that sounds interesting. Enter a new world of romantic fantasy from award-winning author N.E. Davenport, a journey of powerful magic, enemies to lovers, and political intrigue. As a warrior princess and eventual king from rival fey courts form a fierce alliance to take down a merciless despot. So, another good fantasy there. I don't know that it's got romance in it. Maybe it does have a little bit of that. Next one is Some Kind of Famous by Ava Wilder. And I believe this is a romance. So yes, it says, in this steamy and emotional small-town romance, a disgraced ex-musician and a local handyman try to resist their growing attraction for each other until a house renovation forces them together. From the author of How to Fake It in Hollywood and Will They or Won't They? Feel-good fiction, romantic comedy, romance, contemporary women's fiction. So that's what it's rated under. Okay. And then is 640 to Montreal by Eva Jerzik. Now, I actually have this one on pre-order because I really liked the sound of it. It is a suspense book, literary fiction from international bestseller Eva Jerzik is a claustrophobic, deceivingly bloody thriller that follows Agatha as she uses one day on the famous 6-hour morning train from Toronto to Montreal as a mini writing retreat to finish her novel. No Wi-Fi, no distractions, no way out. So Agatha's husband has bought her a first-class ticket on the scenic 6-hour train from Toronto to Montreal as a gift, a one-day writing retreat so she can get some serious work done on her new book, a highly anticipated follow-up to Agatha's runaway bestseller. The first-class car is the perfect place to be productive, with only a handful of other passengers, plenty of snacks and drinks, and beautiful views. But Agatha has other plans for her day out, plans that are unexpectedly derailed when the train breaks down in the middle of the frigid Canadian woods and one of Agatha's fellow passengers dies quietly in his seat. Soon, a pleasant morning in transit turns into a fight for survival against an unknown and unseen enemy. Will Agatha or any of the passengers make it out alive? Sounds a little bit like Orient Express, right? Murder on the Orient Express, which I just read the graphic novel for that. Sounds a little bit, which is why this intrigued me, and I do have it on pre-order, so definitely getting that one. Okay, next one, Never Ever After by Sue Lynn Tan. And this is a fantasy romance for young adults, folk tales and myths for young adults, action and adventure. So definitely YA. Not all fairy tales end happily ever after in this powerful and fierce reimagining of Cinderella. What does it say? Life in the Iron Mountains is harsh and unforgiving. After the death of her beloved uncle, Yining has survived by becoming a skilled thief and an even better liar. When she acquires an enchanted ring that holds the key to a brighter future, it is stolen by her step-aunt, and Yining must venture into the imperial heart of the kingdom to seize it back. I don't know how that relates to Cinderella, but different approach. Certainly sounds good. Okay. Next one is The Book of Autumn by Molly O'Sullivan. This is a beautiful cover. I love the cover. Even though it is a little busy, but it's just the tones of it, and it matches the title to me. Anyway, when I look at it. And it doesn't have what it is slotted under, but it says for readers of Adrian Young, Olivia Blake, Aaron Sterling, Hazel Beck, and Lee Bardugo. A spellbinding debut about ambition, privilege, second chance romance, and ancient magic set at an enchanted school tucked among the red mesas of rural New Mexico, where a formidable pair of magicians are summoned to pursue an alleged killer. Also, it sounds like has a bit of a thriller aspect to it. Yeah. So actually sounds good. All right, so then the very last book we have is The Changeling Queen by Kimberly B. And this one is historical fantasy, gaslight fantasy, fairy tales. Doesn't say whether it's YA or not. Lyrical, sensual, feminist retelling of the Scottish Ballad of Tam Lin, combining folklore, desire, sacrifice, and nature's wonder in a tale of perfect for the fans of Natalie Hine, Genevieve Gornichek, Holly Black, and Quicksilver by Callie Hart, and Outlander. That's like quite the combination. On Samhain in medieval Scotland, pregnant Janet rescues her lover, Tam Lin, from being sacrificed by the Wild Hunt, but the callous fairy queen is not finished with them yet. Over the span of a single night, the queen and Janet spar over Tam Lin's fate. The queen aims to win, knowing how fickle mortals can be. Long before she was royalty, she was simply Bess, the changeling daughter of a midwife. Inspired by Scotland's famous Ballad of the Tin and weaving together mystical folklore and tragic romance, the Changeling Queen's journey into memory, betrayal, and redemption will leave you spellbound. So, that is it. That's a lot. Okay. 42 books. A lot of good ones in there. I mean, there's quite a few, obviously, that I've pre-ordered. And there's quite a few that, even as I read through them again, for like the third time, because I make this list ahead of time and then I go through it again. And then I go through, yeah, I probably go through it like 3 or 4 times. There's still a few that even as I read them again, that I might like to get my hands on and read them. So anyway, lots to choose from every genre imaginable. I tried to mix it up as much as possible, and hopefully you enjoyed that. And I think the next video that will be going up will be my reviews for August. I have, I don't know, about 10 books to review, I think, something along those lines. And yeah, so that's it for now, and we'll see you in the next video.